So I have the normal worksheet, the answer key, which would be test 3, that's reading, okay? But in actuality, I use this ACT answer sheet to help you decipher which one is which. So every test is broken down into 4 different passages. The first one is literary narrative or prose fiction. The second one is social studies. The third one is humanities, and the fourth one is natural science. If you like math more, you're probably going to like these 2 better. And if you don't like math more, you'll probably like these 2 better, okay? In general, that's not necessarily what we have to do. Is we want you to take one of these tests untimed and just read through and do your best on every one. And we want to see which ones you do best at, because every test is in the same order. Once you figure out what order you like to do, you should probably stick with it. But if you start out reading the little italicized intro here, and you don't think you'll like it, or you start reading it and you're getting buried in it, or you're reading the questions, you don't know what to do, skip that passage and go to another one that's going to be of interest to you. The most important thing is to focus on the passages you're going to do well at, so we can get as many questions right as possible. Also, you need to be a word detective when you are doing the reading and the science. So we are going to do a passage, a sample passage, and I'll show you how I would go about tackling the questions, okay? So what I first do is I don't read, on the passage, I go ahead and read right here, social science. This passage is adapted from The Frozen Water Trade, a true story by Gavin W., 2003. Okay, so I stay away from passages that are like in 1875 or something like that, because it's going to be Old English and harder to understand. So I like this because it's a true story, so it's nonfiction, and it's from 2003, so it's relatively recent. So I'm going to go ahead and read this one. Which of the following? So I start with the questions. Which of the following events referred to in the passage occurred last chronologically? Okay, so what I want to look for is right here, the first comprehensive report. Okay, let's see if we can find those words, comprehensive report. When the first comprehensive report. Okay, so that gives you that right there. So that's going to be A. Okay, so that obviously is not going to happen last chronologically. That one doesn't have anything. 2,000 cargoes of ice sold 1.5 million. I want to look for that 1.5 million. 1.5 million right here. 1.5 million. So that's going to be C. Okay. And then the price of ice rose 4 to 5 tons. $4 to $5. Oop, there it is right there. 4 to 5 a ton. Okay, and that's D. So logically, I don't even have to look up where B is, because A, C, and D are all followed right here. So I'm going to go, common sense wise, I'm going to pick this one. Okay, and keep moving. Okay, the passage states, in terms of natural ice industry, the decade between 1869 and 1879, characterized. Okay, here's 1879 right here. The figures were, okay, the figures, Hall, who signed himself special agent. Oh, right there, the preceding 10 years. Okay, great growth right there, great growth. Okay, so significant growth, damaging publicity, high shipping prices, or mildly declining is great growth. All right. Okay, as loose in lines 19 and 20. Like 19 and 20. What are we looking for? The metropolis. Right here, the metropolis. Okay. And we're asking the phrase metropolis, most Albany, New York City, Philadelphia. Oh, right there, look at. Biggest market in New York City, right? So I would say right there, that's the metropolis they're talking about. Based on the passage, 1879 Maine ice was the 15 to 20 inches thick, can be best described as. Okay, so 1879, I'm looking for 1879. Oh, 1879 right there. Okay, and we're looking for 15 to 20 inches thick. Heavily icebreakers, famines, top quality crop right there. Ice was 15 to 20 inches thick in Maine, a top quality crop. Right there. Okay, so that's giving me that answer. The main idea of the fourth paragraph, lines 55 through 67. Okay, so what we're going to do is just quickly read this. The natural ice trade began to decline from the early decades of the 20th century, though in more remote areas of North America where electric power was not available, but lake ice was abundant in winter, it survived as late as 1950. Sounds like it was declining, right? The natural ice industry declined right there. The arrival of the steam engine signaled the demise of ice harvesting. Not really. Ice houses were extremely flammable and therefore few between, or in the 1950s, and this experienced a short-lived revival. This would be a detail right there, because it does talk about that, but it survived as late as 1950s. Ice harvesting died out, the evidence. Okay, so it was this right here, over several. So it was a decline, because what I do is I read the natural ice began the decline from the early decades of the 19th century. Okay, so right there, remember, if you're reading a paragraph, what is the main idea? The main idea is always in the first sentence, so we should be able to grab that real quick. Okay, now I'm looking at lines 68 to 80. 68 to 80. Okay, so we're right here. A wide area of the northern states, young diving enthusiasts were, with no knowledge of the former ice trade, still emerged from lakes and rivers clutching the impressive variety of odd implements, plows and chisels. That answers that. Divers emerged from lakes and rivers clutching industry implements, so we confirmed that our number 11 was right. Okay, so the author most clearly indicates that the contents of the manufacturer's catalogs referred to in the fifth paragraph typically typify the natural ice industry's rapid response to market changes, ability to erect ice house quickly, a wide array of tools, or simple work. It would be the wide array of tools, because that's why they're talking about we're talking about the evidence, the former vast scale of rapidly, the evidence of ice harvesting died out, the evidence of the former vast scale. That wouldn't be it right there. Let's undo that right there. What am I looking at? Let's undo that right there. We're going to undo that. Okay, right here, the young diving enthusiast. Ooh, gosh, that was bad. No knowledge of the former ice, impressive variety, plows and chisels. One of the two museums keeps small displays of these tools, and collectors have preserved manufacturing catalogs that proudly present their version of the ice plow, the ice saw, blah, 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 blah. So that's where we made sure that we got that. On which of the following points does the author contradict himself elsewhere in the passage? Okay, we don't have time for looking up all these, so educated guess, or my letter was D. I choose D for the ones I don't know, so I'm going to go with D here. Okay. Next one, according to the passage in the time period referred to in the first paragraph, how much of New York City was made artificially? Okay, we're talking 1879, right? 1879 and the preceding 10 years, right there. There is no way that how much ice was made artificially? The vast majority? Absolutely not, because there was no refrigeration. About half? No. I would say none, absolutely none, because we got to do common sense here. In 1879, they didn't have electricity and light bulbs and all that kind of stuff. Or if they did, it was very scaled back. All right, the next one, the passage states that for shipping purposes, natural ice was sometimes packed in refrigerated boxcars. Would it be in refrigerated boxcars? That would be a nonsense answer. Waterproof tarps? I don't think they had it back then, did they? It'd be sawdust and hay or paper and cloth. I'm guessing it would be sawdust and hay, but we can maybe try to look for sawdust and hay. Let's see, I'm looking right here. though the demand ice rose. You know what? I'm going to take an educated guess on this one and say sawdust and hay. Common sense would get rid of these two. And paper and cloth, I would think the water would stick to the paper and cloth, but the sawdust and hay might be a better way to do it. Okay. Right there, the rivers, the first real crisis, though the demand rose annually, the New York suppliers transforming the landscape to river for many miles. Okay. The passage indicates the first real crisis. Oh, I just read that. The first real crisis, look, that's horrible. The first real crisis in natural was caused by the competition from artificial manufacture, but by pollution. Okay, pollution, right there. The passage indicates the first real crisis for the natural ice industry can be distributed to the Great Depression, weather pattern changes, the advent of refrigeration, or polluted water. Okay, so that's how we did this first passage. Okay, so we spent 9 minutes and 33 seconds on it. That's a pretty good average. We could be a little faster, but I think I would be a little faster if I had pen and paper. This was just a little harder because this is my first trying to do it on a computer. So let's see our questions. Let's go to 11 first, and that is B, so we are good there. So we got a point there. 12 is F. Woohoo, we got that one right. 13 is B. Good, we got that one right. 14 is F. Good, we got that one right. 15 is A. The natural ice industry declined. Good. 16, H. Good, we got that one right. 17 is D. Oh, how ironic. Remember, I didn't do this one, but I chose D because anything I didn't know, I was just going to pick a letter. And you want to pick A or D on these. So you want to pick one letter, A or D, and stick with it. And I happen to choose D, and I got it right. And I didn't even read the question. Woo-woo. All right, 18 is J. I got that one right. 19 is C. Okay, sawdust and hay. Okay, remember, I didn't find those words because I didn't have the time in the passage, but I just sort of used common sense and I got that one right. Okay, and 20, I know that one's right because I saw it clearly in the text, and that's J. Okay, so 10 out of 10. It took me 9 minutes and 33 seconds. Not bad. I know you're not going to be this good at shot out of the box, but if you start picking up these techniques that I've used in this passage, you're going to get enough for your score. So look out for some more of these texts that I'll be doing for you. And let's start practicing on your own. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.